Welcome back to Somehow I Marriage. My name is Noelle.
My name is David.
And so before we begin this episode, we want to issue a trigger warning to our parents.
Yes. Apparently, our parents listen to our podcast.
Which we love, and we are appreciative of that.
They're the only ones that do.
Yeah. They love us so much. But they have expressed at times that our innuendo maybe is a little much.
Apparently, we say a lot of innuendo. I didn't realize that until our parents told us.
But we expressed this is a podcast kind of for people that are struggling, to live out the sacrament of marriage in the way that God is calling them to. And there are different difficulties with that.
And it's funny. And so, but I think knowing in the back of our minds that our parents do listen to our podcast, it has, in a little way, stifled us from talking about one particular issue, which will remain nameless. I think we all know what that is. If you look at the list of titles from our podcast, you will notice something is missing
from the marriage life and the marriage experience.
I think you know.
Today we are talking about that thing.
Yes, we're not going to name that thing, but instead we'll tell a story from our past that other people can relate to, that maybe everyone will know what we're talking about. So one of our kids walked in on us doing the thing that shall not be named, and it was our oldest kid at the time, who actually still is our oldest kid.
And we're starting a therapy fund for our children in advance.
Because of this incident, and we'll have to take money out of our therapy
to pay for theirs.
But it's fine.
It's fine.
As long as we spread the sanity around, everyone will be less sane. But anyway, so they walk in and they're rubbing their eyes. You were not as horrified as I was.
No,
I was mortified.
You were as horrified as you were when you pointed finger guns at the police officer.
No. I sounded like the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. What was that scene where
get out of the West Wing?
He's like, get out!
Yeah,
because she discovered the
rose
or something like that.
So if anything, that was what traumatized our child, and not actually coming in where you couldn't even see anything as it's dark anyway.
I don't think that they realized what was going on. They were still rubbing their eyes. I think we got the covers back on or whatever. But the problem came the next day. I apparently was projecting myself based on, if I could use some psychology here, I was based on the trauma that I had experienced the night before. I was projecting that, apparently. I didn't realize that until I was walking with my kids to the park, and the said child, who shall not be named, was there present, and the three of our kids at the time, they're up a ways on the sidewalk, and they're all huddled around something, and I'm still pushing the baby carriage or whatever, and I reach them and I'm like, hey guys, what's going on? And they say, Dad, there's these two bugs and they're fighting each other. Yeah, this one bug, he's on top of the other one. Yeah, they're wrestling. And my immediate reaction was, it basically took me back to the night before. And I wanted.
You're like, give them some privacy, guys.
I said, stop. Guys, let's go. Come on. Leave them alone. Stop. Come on, guys. Just stop watching them.
Oh my God.
Leave them alone. And they would not stop. And so finally, I get them all away, except for one kid. I think it was the middle child. The one kid, he turns to leave. Thanks for listening to me. And then he turns back and stomps on the two lovers.
And that brings us to our topic, which is how children destroy the intimacy in your lives.
Whoa. We're not going to mention that word.
I'm just kidding. No, children.
I'm not. Oh.
Intimacy.
Anything that could I want our parents to listen to this podcast episode and not be sure what
And
we're
not
talking
understand.
about. Yeah. So we need
I think
an
it's too late for that.
analogy. We need an analogy
Okay.
that
Well, I brought up the reason why we're even talking about this topic is because David and I, this has been like our entire marriage has been a roller coaster of trying to find a balance of where we're both, happy with that area of our lives. And there's been a lot of ups and downs and a lot of, yeses and nos.
twists and turns.
Twists and turns and cliffs. Lots of cliffs.
And grasshoppers getting squashed.
And so I mentioned to David the other day that I thought a good analogy for my experience of what I enjoy in intimacy and marriage is that, you have like the football game, but before that you have the pregame. But before that, you have the tailgating. And I feel like you will always want to go right to the pregame.
Okay.
And I need the tailgating first.
Yeah, I am not a jock.
And the tailgating would be the romance.
Yeah, thank you, because I got it.
Okay.
I am not here's what you don't get. I am not a sports guy. I am an artiste.
I get it.
I am
I get it.
sensitive. And so like a better analogy would be a rock concert.
That doesn't work, though. That doesn't work because you have the concert and then what's before the concert?
The opening band, which is not as good as the regular the closer, the main act.
It's not as good.
Yeah. You just go there. You just go there because your wife likes them.
Whoa.
And you should only be going to rock concerts if you're married.
Yeah. Right. And don't go by yourself. Anyway, so
you could be robbed.
So anyway, quick, let's move along. Okay, so you have there's not like another thing before the opening band. I need the other thing before the opening band. So
getting wasted in the parking lot.
Isn't that like afterwards? I don't know. I haven't been to enough concerts.
Not if it's an Allman Brothers concert.
The concerts that I go to are jazz.
When was the last time you went to a jazz concert?
I'm just kidding. I don't even know I think I went to see Pentatonics with our son. That was the last concert that I've been to.
Yeah, I think
it was really good.
Didn't you show up like right when the concert was starting? So you missed the.
They didn't. There was nothing. You're just waiting in line.
Oh, they just cut right to the.
To the opening band.
Wow, that doesn't translate well in this analogy.
So
they just skipped the foreplay.
Here's my other thought though with this analogy was, what about you show up to a restaurant and they have bread on the table and it's a nice setting and they give you a drink and then you order the appetizers, which increase the desire for the meal. So there's 3 steps.
Not if you fill up on bread first. So the food analogy doesn't work. Because sometimes I fill up on bread and I never fill up on the other thing.
So
I've never been like, no, I've had too much.
No, I know that you need the all you can eat 24/7
Vegas style buffet.
God. All I wanted was a salad. Okay, but no.
I'm on a diet.
I guess I'm not as hungry as you are.
Well, and therein lies the problem.
That is the problem generally of our marriage. Well, that's not the only problem. We have a lot of problems, but
I feel very unhealthy.
You can't fill up on the romance. Like your problem is you are not happy that if I only want to just eat the bread, if I only want the romance and not the appetizers or the meal.
Our problem is reversed. You're the one that just fills up on the bread.
Yes.
And you don't want to eat the meal. That's what it is.
Yes, that's basically, I admit that.
I think carbs are terrible. I don't want to eat carbs anymore. That was fine at the beginning of our eating relationship, marriage. That's how we got here. But now we're on keto.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, basically, but
no.
No.
You still want to fill up on bread. You make it about the bread.
And you give me no bread. You just want to, I was going to say something that's going to be way too obscene. Actually, if that was an analogy, let me reverse.
I think you should
let
say
me
it
back
now.
Up. Let me back up.
I'm kind of curious. On behalf of our listeners.
You are gluttonous. That's the thing. I am fine with just a little romance, but it has to be like it can move toward something. But you want to dive right into the appetizers. Like, let's get the appetizers and then let's get the meal. I
feel like you're calling me fat.
I'm not calling you fat. You called me fat in the last episode. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but that's when we were talking about something else.
But kind of why, or, like why we're sharing this is I think that sometimes we can have the perspective of like, I only want the bread. I only want the romance. I don't need the meal. Or
why do you think you, or
why would I?
What can you work on that will assure me that you're not going to fill up on bread? Because it feels like that's all you want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of it is just physiological, right? I've had 6 kids. I've had 6 kids that are constantly grabbing and yelling at me and demanding things from me and all of this stuff that it is a role of nurture that sometimes, granted, I will fully admit that my husband sometimes gets the short end of the stick, so to speak, that I have been spread so thin. I'm so exhausted and tired that I need to be refilled from just my love bank, like because I know my kids love me. They're amazing and wonderful kids, but they have a lot of needs. And so sometimes it's like, I need to know from my perspective that this isn't just, here's another mouth I have to feed, but that there is a meal being prepared for me, that there is a relationship component that involves just like, hey, I care about your day, and it's this building up of the appetite, I think.
Okay, wait. So yeah, because there's a crowd of people out there that would say that the wife has to have a meal anytime that the husband
prepares the food,
is hungry or whatever. There's a spiritual truth, like, where it's like St. Paul talks about the wife submitting to the wife submits to her husband, and the husband pours himself out for his wife, like Christ loves the church. And he says, don't withhold yourselves from each other except for a season, so that you're not tempted. Anyway, that's on the table. But what you're saying is actually, I think I shouldn't speak too much to this because we're not going to check this right now, fact checking. But you need more bread, because there's a study that actually says something about that. Restaurants. Elon Musk talked about this, I think, on some other podcast. Maybe it was Joe Rogan, but or maybe it was just AI generating Musk saying this. Elon Musk. I said Musk. I combined his name.
Sounds
made
like
it more
a cologne.
Efficient. Yeah. They should do that. Anyway, he said that restaurants use bread because it can, it could fill you up, but also can get you to be more hungry. Mm-hmm. And with the sugars or whatever in the bread, it could, whatever, it does this thing in your body, spiking certain things that may make you more likely to order bread. It's not bread, dessert later on. I'm butchering this, the names, all the information. Yeah. But anyway, check on that. But what you're saying is, going back to the analogy, is like, you need more bread. It's not that you can't have a meal, but it's like, you got to have the bread in there because that can increase the appetite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I get it. Oh.
Yeah, but at the same time, I know too, and we've had these discussions, that this the meal is a essential part of marriage if there is the ability for both spouses to partake in the meal. It is an essential component that we eat to be healthy in our marriage.
Well,
But
you also eat. There's two reasons. Like food is healthy. It gives you nutrition, but it also should be pleasurable to eat.
right.
Like, because very few people just like, yeah, I'll have an IV. Actually, I don't think anybody does that. And then the people that are just eating for pleasure, they're nobody they're not looked up to. They're not looked up to as far as like being healthy or anything.
Yeah.
If you just eat for pleasure,
Yeah.
you always eat with pleasure and nutrition in mind.
Yes. And we know that just from the standpoint of like I'm doing carnivore diet right now because I'm having some health issues and I'm trying to see if this will help. And what has been so hard for me is that everything in our culture is focused on the pleasure of eating, And so when I see, oh, this food looks so good and people seem to really be enjoying it, but I can't have that right now, it's really hard to focus on the nutritional aspect that I need, and then to also be able to find pleasure in that way of eating that's different than what other people are doing.
Yeah, you still add, whatever butter.
Yeah.
Which can make anything taste better.
Butter makes it better.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about our relationship, there is that combination of pleasure, yes, but there is an element of nutrition. There is an element of I'm not in the mood, but I know that this is what my marriage needs right now. Maybe we've had a really big fight and we're trying to come back together, and this is what it needs. I might be exhausted, or you might be exhausted, or whatever, but we know our marriage needs this right now. Our marriage needs this intimacy because this is the one thing that you and I do that we don't do with anybody else in this marriage. That this is the exclusivity of me giving you my entirety and you giving me your entirety, that we can come together and be safe in that. And also there are physiological elements and spiritual elements that combine to bring us closer together in that.
I can't tell if we're talking about bread anymore, but I like it. Let me ask you this. When we were first courting, I'll use that term, and I picked you up at the airport, I had a whatever
Bouquet of roses.
Yeah, the bouquet, and
a
sign that said, "I'm homeless, please help."
Everybody's like, that explains a lot.
Oh my gosh. Your father's like, I knew it. Anyway, what's it called? Like, and the sign says, I love you, Noelle, or whatever. And I was up at the top of the escalator. So when you came up, the escalator, like there I was playing music, and I had my guitar, everything. Yeah. So, and that song I was singing, was it 2 Coins by Dispatch?
I think so.
I think so. Anyway, and there's that type of bread, all right? And then there's the type of bread that I think is like, I would love it if you do the dishes right now. Like, I would just love it if the kitchen was completely clean. And which do you prefer at this stage and chapter in our marriage?
I mean, why not give me a bouquet of flowers while you do the dishes? No, I'm just kidding.
Your demands are you just can't do that.
No,
like that.
Well, okay. This is not just about me and my demands to get to the meal. This is
like
really,
I'm trying to negotiate with a terrorist.
Yeah. So I just want to back up for just a second, because this isn't just me expressing, okay, this is what I need to get to this meal. Because there are some times where all we can have is a 6-piece chicken nugget, right?
Yes, because there are people banging on the door and the lock is not that good. So there's no time. There's no time to eat at Olive Garden. You have to get something from you can't even get McDonald's. You got to get to like Arby's or something like that.
Yeah.
6-piece.
So
Chicken Arby's.
for me, where my to help me work up an appetite, I really need stress off my plate. So when you do things like clean the kitchen or clean the environment so that I feel at peace, like walking into our room and there's not kids' shoes and toys and, the sheets are off the bed because the kids were wrestling around on the bed or whatever. It wasn't
Wrong
us.
people were wrestling on the bed. This is what I'm talking about. Killing the grasshoppers.
That for sure helps. And you have shared with me that you appreciate when I am affectionate because I do struggle with just being affectionate.
I appreciate also when you express that you're enjoying the meal.
I can't say the things that I want to say.
just use an analogy.
Are you as good of a cook as you think you? Oh, I'm just kidding. Okay.
I'm the best. The best.
I hate so much about the way you choose to be.
I've taken cooking classes. And with that, we just lost half our listeners.
Isn't that like eating when you're not hungry, though? That you don't enjoy the meal as much if you're eating when you're not hungry. Boom. Nailed it.
No, but assuming that I did the bread before I made bread, in our bread maker, I made some little dough balls.
Wow, stop. That sounds really bad.
You're right. They're big dough balls.
You put the buns in the oven, right? That's like a pregnancy analogy. Okay.
Wait, did you hear mine?
Yeah, I did hear it. I heard it.
But you didn't laugh. So this is what I'm talking about. You don't let me know that you're enjoying the meal.
Sometimes you enjoy your own jokes more than I do. But
that's sinful.
That's it. Oh, God, dear Lord. Okay.
Okay, wait. That I am being vulnerable right now in front of you and everyone else who's listening, our parents. And sometimes I'm saying I would appreciate if you were like,
that was the best meal I ever ate.
No. No. If you were like,
Stop. Oh my gosh. This is a disaster. Okay. Okay.
Like if you
Listen though.
This is delicious.
Listen. But isn't this okay?
Wait.
No. There are seasons. This is not a performance, okay? This is not a performance. Literally, I feel like our culture has put these expectations of performance through these unrealistic expectations upon what this has to look like in a marriage that I think are not fair to either one of us. And I think that don't respect our own ups and downs of what is going on in our lives. What do we need? Are we fighting? Are we, and there's these unrealistic performative expectations based on the pornographic culture that we live in.
No. I'm not talking about
no,
that.
I know.
No. I'm just saying it's the same thing with the meal. It's like, that's not a that's not a performance. It's not fake. It's like, when you make a meal, like you're it's like the people on the stupid cooking shows that you watch, like the whatever British baker. They're like, do they like it? Like, and they want that feedback. And so what you're saying is like, no, that's pornographic.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm addressing that as a side issue. So I'm coming back to this between you and I. So just that as a side issue, that there's this sort of like a lot of pressure, I think, is put on couples in general. For you and I, just listen for a second. Listen, from our standpoint, it comes back to this whole idea of there are times where sometimes we eat and I'm not hungry. And so that can be hard for me to appreciate the meal if that is kind of where I am coming from a mental and physical standpoint. But that doesn't mean that I don't love the closest with you or love you or anything like that. It's nothing like that. There is an element of like, okay, I'm not really hungry. And that's hard. It's hard when our hormones are
But what
affecting
if
the
I made
meal
bread?
and all of this stuff.
Even if I make bread, we just said if
Yeah.
what if I
Yeah.
make bread?
Well, that's why at this point in our marriage, I'm communicating this to you and telling you, this is something that I would appreciate. And I think that that's the ultimate goal of every couple should be to communicate.
And I said that I
Yeah.
would.
Yeah.
But then you're saying, well, just sometimes I don't feel
No.
like it. Well, what if
I'm
I say
telling you
sometimes
that-
I don't feel like making bread? Make your
But-
own dang bread.
Yes, though. You're exactly right. Yes, we have to be communicating about this all the time. And it changes, right? Like it changes right after I've had a baby. It changes when we're sick. It changes when we've had a big fight. There are these ups and downs, this roller coaster, and it's not going to be always the perfect formula and the perfect we are still being made perfect through this sacrament. And that's what even the catechism says: marriage is the vocation in which we are learning to love more perfectly. So the fact that you and I can have these conversations and we can communicate about this, I like this, I don't like this, I want this, I don't want this, I think, and the other person is willing to do their best too, I think that's pretty good. Even if we argue and we have our off days, I think it's pretty good that we can share and discuss what we want in our restaurant.
I am never cooking for you again.
Oh my gosh. I'm never going to your restaurant. Ooh.
Fine.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the end of our podcast.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's been the age-old struggle that every couple has had since the age of time. This is the dynamic between men and women, husband and wife, between the spouses since the fall, that we're different, but we have this this equality that is based on complementarity. But the only reason why we complement each other is because of those differences. And since the fall, like, we don't always see each other's differences as the things that equally complement each other. We see our differences, and that's like all we can see. Mm-hmm. Like, why can't she just understand this or do this? Why can't he just be like this? The things that attracted us to each other, even just from a personality standpoint and temperament, like, oh, you're more organized, I'm more, spontaneous or whatever. Oh, that's what attracted to us.
Disorganized. Why do you say spontaneous? Spontaneous is like fun. Organized just sounds not as fun. I'm fun, Mom.
No. I appreciated your organization at the beginning of our relationship.
Not anymore.
I saw your shoe closet, and it was very organized. You get what I mean. Like, opposites attract. Like, one person in the relationships, usually more whatever. It's just a temperament of maybe they're more organized or more goal oriented.
Okay.
And the other one's fun and a free thinker. And the other one ruins everything. No, I'm just kidding. But like, that's what I'm getting at, is like the things that attract you to the other person that were opposite of you suddenly become annoying later on in marriage, where it gets flipped, inverted. That organization just seems more controlling, and that spontaneity seems irresponsible or something like that. Mm-hmm. And whatever. And then it gets different or more in depth with male, female, husband and wife dynamics. Those things we have always been trying to work out, but the communication, has been the most valuable. And some days we hit it out of the park. It's like, we go out to dinner and it's a full course meal, or we only had time for a quarter pounder.
David. Jeez.
I was talking about McDonald's. What is the
Okay.
issue here? I didn't say anything. It was your fault. You were the one that couldn't pick a good analogy. And so we.
Well, and there are also times where we are going to hurt each other. We are going to reject each other, and to be able to acknowledge that, like, I'm sorry that hurt you, and that's how that made you feel, or you didn't feel loved by me in this moment, to be able to apologize together instead of feel entitled to whatever, I think is also important. And we have had to do that in our marriage. Is, I'm sorry if you felt rejected by what I that I passed up the opportunity to go out with you, and trying to understand each other. But again, we're on this journey of imperfect people trying to love more perfectly.
All right. Well, what do you want to have for dinner tonight?
Oh my gosh.
I was talking about, it's
Okay,
like literally
anyway.
like dinner time right
Yeah,
now.
I know it is. Actually, for real, it is dinner time.
What were you talking about?
I was talking about, let's go ahead and end the podcast so we can go out to eat. Ooh.
Oh,
Start the music,
okay.
David.
Okay.